Good morning, buddy. How are you?
I'm well, Patrick. Good morning.
Good. Hey, we are scheduled to, pardon me, talk to Colton Welker here after we speak with you. He's having another uh, really good spring training. I know he did back in 2019 too. Where do you see him in terms of his development and how close he might be to being a major league player?
We've been really impressed by Colton, Patrick. I think that, what we're seeing is, a natural progression of maturity. I think more than anything, just the person is starting to grow up and realize, what it takes to be a major league player. Being in major league camp now for a number of years and rubbing shoulders with, a lot of our great veteran players who have been here, seeing their work ethic, seeing their character, I think just naturally rubs off on players. And I think he's really taken that to heart. But I think the biggest thing is just the maturity of the person. The skill set's there to be a solid major league player. We feel, there's always been the hit tool in there that our hitting coaches and our player development people have always liked. The defense has improved over time. Great work with our infield instructors. Stu Cole has been impressed by Colton this spring. And I think Colton, again, on the physical side, just, where he is strength-wise, his off-season conditioning, his body is in the best place it's been since I've seen Colton. So there's been a really strong component to his body from Colton, that commitment, that dedication to getting his body in the best shape possible. And now he's gaining strength, he's gaining mobility, his feet are working better, all the things that you look for in player development. So, he's getting closer. I'm not sure exactly where he's going to be when the season starts. It's sort of a weird start right here with the minor league season starting later, the alternate campsite there outside of Denver. But Colton now is, moving up the totem pole for sure.
Two more questions on him. In your mind right now, what is his best infield position and what's his best skill set?
Well, I think, on defense,
Yes.
the skill set,
Yeah,
or
on defense, what do you think is
yeah,
his best
what?
position?
Okay, well, I think right now he's most comfortable at third base because he's been a natural third baseman. But the exposure to first base over the last couple of years, we feel pretty comfortable with him at first because he's athletic. I mean, for a big guy, he moves well. His hands are great. I feel pretty comfortable with him at either first or third. But if you were to ask him, he'd say third. And I'm sure you're probably going to ask him here shortly, and he'll say third. And hopefully he says he feels comfortable at first too. But I think just naturally and most comfortable, he feels third base is his best spot. And I think attributes. I think I like his arm. I like his hands. His hands have really improved. I think the softness of his hands. I've seen growth there, and just all the things that you look for in development of an infielder. His ability to read hops. His ability to make quick judgments on whether to charge a ball, whether to take a drop step. All the things, the subtle things that the critical eye look at it with infielders. He's making strides there.
And one more for me. You mentioned about how he's grown physically and also grown up and matured, mentally as a professional athlete. I would imagine, given the fact that there was no minor league season last year, and it's going to be a delayed minor league season this year, these young players have had to take on a lot of that responsibility to stick with the program themselves. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah.
And it's taken a little bit of extra moxie, if that's a good word to stay with this.
Yeah, that's fair because we started last year, right? It was a typical off season between the off season of December, January, November, December of 19, then into 19 and 20 prior to spring training. That was a natural off season. And Colton looked good last year. Then you come to the alternate camp. A couple months later, there was a little gap in there where players went home. But when he came back into Denver to our alt site, he was ready to play. So he took care of himself. And there's a component, I think, with Colton. It's going to be with him moving forward of being in that weight room, and I think there's a component of what he puts in his body, nutrition-wise, that he's like a lot of players are going to have to be really on top of, and he's done it. And I think that ties hand in hand to the maturity level.
Thanks, buddy.
Yes.
Thomas Harding, go ahead, Thomas.
Hey, buddy, want to ask you about Colton, a couple of things about Colton, but first of all, I know the organization put out a couple tweets last night, and I just wanted to give you an opportunity to, say whatever you want to say about what happened in Boulder.
Well, yeah, Thomas, I was gonna end with that after all the baseball questions were over, but since you brought it up, I will speak to that. We heard the news yesterday down here in Scottsdale after our game, and all of us were shocked. Our hearts, feel the pain of what happened in Boulder with the 10 people who unfortunately passed away. So down here in Arizona, us Rockies, players, coaches, staff, front office, our thoughts and prayers are with everybody up in Boulder. To the victims and their families, what a tragedy. So we're thinking about everybody.
Okay, hey, with Colton, because the minor league season is starting a little bit later, and we don't know how the last few days of spring training will go, he's able to put a charge into a ball. Is there any thought of possibly keeping him on the opening day roster, maybe to provide something off the bench, between now and when the minor league season starts? Or is that asking a little much at this stage?
Well, Thomas, we have conversations daily, and sometimes multiple conversations throughout the course of the day about all our players, and he's on our radar. Whether it makes sense to bring him to on our opening day roster, these are the things that we discuss. So we're discussing it, and we'll see what plays out, middle of next week when we formulate our roster and what's best for the Rockies, and a lot of times what's best for players. So, but he's been impressive. Yesterday he played the entire game. Got a couple knocks, got a big hit there in the ninth inning off a good arm. So, he's in our conversations.
Yeah, one more on him. How have the conversations evolved over the last couple of years with him, as far as with the coaches, with you, and even with the teammates in the clubhouse?
Well, I think with, we're on this guy, obviously, like we are all our players. So the conversations are, again, I don't want to be repetitive, but, we talk baseball constantly, and spring training is a great environment to do that. Guys are here early in the morning, and it starts, a lot of times in the cage at, 7:30 in the morning when Colton's in with Dave Magadan and Tim Doherty and Jeff Salazar and Darren Everson and, all our hitting guys, talking hitting. And then it transfers over to, Stu Cole and Warren Schaefer when they, take ground balls at 8:30 in the morning on the half field. And then it continues when we start our practice sessions, and we're talking. So, the conversations are ongoing. They're fluid all the time about baseball, and specifically, for Colton, there's specific things that, the hitting guys and the infield guys are working with Colton. And for me, my conversations with him are more broad about, where he is, mentally, how he feels physically, I've complimented him again on on his on his physical stature, how that looks, and I think that's helped his play. I've mentioned that to him. How he's taken care of himself over the last couple of years and improved strength and conditioning. So, and even during the course of a game, whether we're talking specific strategy, he's lucid, he's present, he's a clear thinker during the game. I mean, there's a lot of good stuff going on with Colton.
Okay, a couple other subjects. Scott Oberg, another very clean inning yesterday. I won't ask you if you're surprised because you know the guy, you know his character. But when you look at just the quality of how he feels the next day, I mean, does it look like he's checking off all these boxes?
Yeah, he continues to check them off. Yesterday, it was a clean inning, maybe not as crisp as he was the previous couple to our critical eye, but yet. Put up a scoreless inning there in a Cactus League game. We like where he is physically and mentally. It's important, right, to have Scotty, feel good about, his arm and, everything that has gone on with him with his, circulation, his surgery, all the things that we're on top of, medically with Scott. But, he's confident, Thomas. He feels good about where he is.
Thank you very much, buddy.
You got it.
Nick Croak. Go ahead, Nick.
Hey, buddy, when you fill out the last spot or two on the roster for position players,
Yes.
Because you have so much defensive versatility with the rest of the roster, does that allow you at all to sort of focus on offense for those two spots? Can you say to yourself, we're gonna prioritize an offensive presence with that? With a spot, maybe more than you might normally be when that position needs to give you some late inning.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's a good question. It's something that we contemplate for sure. I mean, that's a fair question. I think a lot will depend, on the 26-man roster, based on how many pitchers we keep, and we've talked about that. Whether we keep 13, whether we keep 14. I think there's a component of, the versatility is important with guys like Hampson and Owings, who look to make the team, and Hilliard and Tapia and, those guys being able to, Daza, those guys being able to play all three outfield positions relatively seamlessly. There's a lot of different ways to look at it, but your point is fair about whether to have a bat on the bench and just a true bat. But again, you like your players to there's going to be starts for those guys on the bench, whoever they are, and there could be a lot of them because how we might mix and match depending on the opposing team starter, day game after night game, who's hot, who's not, all those factors. But the versatility potentially could trump just one bat, but we're taking all that into consideration.
Gotcha. And then separately, the Padres kind of reimagined their rotation a little bit, added some guys. Have you been able to study them at all? What are your thoughts on their rotation?
Well, presently we're focusing on our team, right? I think most teams focus on their own group right now. We'll start to focus a little bit in the coming days on the Dodgers and the Diamondbacks because that's who we're playing first, and the Giants as far as some of our advanced work. But the Padres for sure, over this past winter have added pieces to the rotation, right? Some veteran pieces in Snell and Darvish and Musgrove to complement some of their younger starters. Right, I know they're worried about the big starter Lamet, but they've got some younger starters, on their rosters, Weathers, Morahan, Gore, that have very limited service time, but they did some things, for their rotation for sure.
Gotcha. Thanks, buddy.
Yeah.
All right, we'll finish up with Noah unless anyone else has any questions. Noah, go ahead.
Hey, bud. for Ryan McMahon, you've been using him more in the second spot in the lineup.
Right.
What have you liked out of him in that spot, since obviously last year he was usually more down in the lineup?
Yeah, well, again, we're sort of working through that a little bit. I think more than anything, we're hoping there's an on-base component to Mac. I think you look at his track record. I think there's selectivity. There's been a walk in his game to help to go along with his batting average of a guy that we think should get on base at a decent clip for our hitters who hit 3, 4, and 5 to be able to do some RBI damage. Again, if Tapia leads off and gets on first base, it opens up a natural hole on the right side that Mac can at times take advantage of with some hard hit balls that are pulled on the ground that might get through the infield. Again, I think I like the fact that Mac is a present danger with power at the top of the order. I like that aspect of it. But again, it will come down to performance, right, and actually how he's doing as far as his batting average and his on base. But I like the selectivity. I like how he conducts an at bat, and those types of players make sense at the top of the order.
If he were to get a day off, say in the regular season against a lefty, who are some of the other guys that you'd be comfortable with in that second spot?
Well, Hampson potentially has been that type of player in the minor leagues, and we've seen some of Garrett at the top of the order in the big leagues. There was a stretch, last year of a couple weeks in the shortened season where he had a nice little run of, I think, about 30 at-bats, 40 at-bats that, that he was trying to tell us that, he could hit at the top of the order with average and on base. But he profiles, I think, as that type of hitter. Hopefully that happens sooner rather than later for us. But in the minor leagues, he always hit at the top of the order. As an amateur player, he hit at the top of the order. Chris Owings at times in his 6-year, 5+ years in the big leagues has hit at the top of the order, and he's hit everywhere, top of the order. Josh Fuentes, has the ability to handle the bat a little bit. Maybe against a left-handed pitcher, Josh could move up there. We'll just continue to look at it, but again, a lot of it could be performance-based. Once we get underway and who's swinging the bat well, and what's a good matchup for certain guys against opposing starting pitchers.
And final one on McMahon. You've been using him at third and second now with the injury to Rogers to start out the season. Performance being aside of him and everyone else, do you expect to see him more at third base or more at second base?
I think, right now you could expect to see him more at second. If we put Josh at third and we put potentially Crone at first. But there could be times when Max shifts back to third and, we play either Hampson or Owings at second. So, again, we go back to the versatility aspect, Noah, that all these guys bring that, once we get the season rolling and, guys might need a day off or, there's performance things, the versatility of these guys, will benefit them and the team.
And to follow up on that, I assume a McMahon might get a little bit of playing time at first base if need be.
We've talked about it in a pinch. Yes, I mean that could happen further down the road if indeed Brendan comes back and is on our roster, or if somebody else emerges at second base and we like Josh. But I would think that and Josh always has the capability to go into first base too. We saw that last year as well, and Josh played really well at first base defensively. So. Again, I can't speak enough to the versatility, but I wouldn't at this point want to move Mac around to 3 infield positions on a regular basis.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, guys, thank you.
Buddy.